All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into something really fascinating, a whole different way of thinking about storytelling. It's called Fitri Worldbuilding, and trust me, it might just change how you see the purpose of creating fictional worlds altogether. So let's just jump right in with a big question, one that gets to the core of this whole thing. Is fantasy just escapism? We all love to get lost in these amazing fictional worlds, right? It's a way to leave our daily lives behind. But what if that's not really what's going on? What if the rules are actually reversed? Well, check out this quote. It says, "It's showing that fantasy is the real thing and that our weakness and errors have distanced us from this reality." I mean, whoa, that's a pretty radical idea, isn't it? It's suggesting that the stories we call fantasy are actually closer to some kind of fundamental truth, and that maybe, just maybe, it's our modern world that's the real escape. Okay, so if the goal isn't just plain old escapism, then what is it? Let's take a look at how this whole framework is designed to use stories to reconnect us with that deeper reality. Everything starts with this one core idea, the Fitra. Now, what is that? Well, think of it as our factory settings. It's described as this pure, natural state we're all born with. It's like a spiritual compass inside of us that's already pointed towards what's true and good. And that brings us to the whole point of Fitri Worldbuilding. The goal here isn't to build some complicated illusion for you to get lost in. No, not at all. It's about crafting a reminder. The story itself becomes this tool designed to wake up that Fitra inside you. It's about reminding the audience of their creator and who they really are at their core. All right, so how does this actually work? What does the storyteller's toolkit look like when they're trying to build one of these worlds of remembrance? Okay, get this. The storyteller isn't just making stuff up out of thin air. It's more like they're a chef with access to the biggest pantry imaginable. They're pulling inspiration from literally every dimension of reality. The known, the unknown, the seen, the unseen, it's all on the table. So, for example, you have elements from what the source material calls the unseen world. We're talking about things like angels, jinn, which are described as beings of smokeless fire, and even concepts like the realms after death or the divine throne itself. In this framework, these aren't just fantasy tropes. They're treated as real, fundamental parts of the universe's structure. They're the metaphysical building blocks, so to speak. But it's not just the spiritual stuff. It also pulls from the entire scale of the physical world we know. I mean, think about it. From the tiniest subatomic particle, a quark, all the way up to a planet, a galaxy, and the entire universe. Every single level of existence is fair game. It's all part of that creative palette. And you guessed it, the same exact idea applies to the living world. The storyteller can zoom in on a single cell or zoom out to look at a whole organism, a family, a civilization, or even an entire ecosystem. That whole beautiful, complex web of life, yep, that's in the toolkit too. So, okay, we've got this absolutely massive toolbox, but how do you use it, right? You can't just throw things together. How do you make sure the world you're building actually makes sense and has some deeper meaning? Well, that's where these core principles come into play. These are called the 5 unities, and you can think of them as the laws of physics for this kind of world building, the metaphysical rules that hold everything together. So, for example, the unity of law and soul says that, hey, just like a body needs physical laws to survive, a soul needs guiding moral laws to truly flourish. Or take the unity of nature and the subject. This one sees the natural world not as something to just be used up and exploited, but as a vast library of science pointing back to the creator. And the unity of ontology and morality? That's the idea that everything, from a tiny pebble to a vast empire, has a built-in purpose and meaning. These unities are what give the world its soul, really. Okay, so we've got our toolbox, which is basically all of reality. And we've got our rulebook, the 5 unities. So what happens when you put them together? What does this all mean for the kinds of stories we tell? This, right here, is where it all clicks. And here it is, the big idea, spelled out. Fitri Worldbuilding is not about creating an escape route. It's about building a path back to what's real. The story isn't a place to hide. It's supposed to be a map, a guide to help your soul find its way back to a reality that it's maybe forgotten. This chart just lays it out so clearly. Look at the difference. Conventional storytelling, the goal is often escapism. Its foundation, man-made ideas, whatever the philosophy of the day is. And the effect, it can actually pull us further away from reality.
But then you look at Fitri storytelling. The goal is a reminder. The foundation is reality itself, the whole universe and that innate Fitra. And the effect? It's designed to awaken the soul to reality. Two totally different destinations.
So when you start thinking about stories this way, it really opens up a lot of doors, doesn't it? I mean, what kind of impact could stories have if their main job wasn't to distract us, but to actually recenter us, to remind us of what's real? And really, that's the big question this whole idea leaves us with. It's for all of us, whether you write stories or just love them. What kind of stories would we tell if our goal wasn't to escape reality, but to remember it? If our imaginations were pointed back towards truth instead of away from it, man, what kind of worlds would we build then? What could we rediscover about ourselves and our place in the universe? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.